You're thinking about moving to Hawaii and renting, and that's perfectly fine. A lot of people do that. A lot of people will move out here to Hawaii because it's such a big move and they want to get a feel for the communities and those types of things first. Well, in this video, we're actually going to go over 5 things that you need to know about renting when you're living in Hawaii right now. What's going on? Welcome to the Living in Hawaii channel. If you are new here, this channel is all about what it's like to live in Hawaii, to eat, sleep, play, breathe, the up, down, left, and right. Everything that you need to know. If you're not new here, welcome on back. Make sure you all hit that like button. It helps anybody else be able to find this information. Hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so that you get notified anytime that I put out a new video on this channel. And look, we get so many people reaching out every single day and we absolutely love it, and you can do the same thing too. You can send us a text, you can send us an email, you can give me a call, you can skip all that and use the link down in the description below to schedule your Zoom appointment with myself or a member of my team. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back when moving to Hawaii. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of people will come out to Hawaii and rent first. And when we talk about renting, some people are fine with renting because they don't want the obligation of owning the home. But I guess what they're fine with is the obligation of paying somebody else's mortgage and building somebody else's equity in their home, right? And those types of things. So why do people rent? Well, a lot of people are making the big move because it is such a big move, all right? You're moving across the Pacific Ocean, whichever direction you're coming from. Japan, Australia, that stuff over there on that side, or US mainland, Alaska up north, whichever direction it is that you're coming from, you're moving across the Pacific. There's really just no other move like it unless you're moving across the pond to Europe and that type of stuff, right? There's really no other move like it. It's such a big move. A lot of people may have only been here once and they did all the touristy things and they didn't really get to see the communities. So a lot of them will make another trip to really get a feel for the communities, and then they'll want to rent for 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, however long it takes to really get a feel for where it is that you want to be. Okay, and that's one of the main reasons that a lot of people do rent. Other than maybe not being in a position to buy at the moment, it's really just we are definitely moving and we're going to be buying at some point. We just want to make sure that we're in the right spot. So we're gonna come check some areas out, and we're probably gonna rent here for 6 months. After that 6 months mark, though, we will be buying. Now that we know, right, and we can drive around these other communities and say, hey, look, maybe this isn't the spot for us. We really liked it over here. Now that we're actually living here, and we can just go over there and check it out, type of thing. So that's one of the biggest reasons why people rent, aside from just not being in a position to really take on a mortgage, right? Whether it's the job, whether it's the credit, the debt to income ratio, whatever the case may be. So renting may be the better option for you when it comes to that and making that move out here to Hawaii. But I do need to let you know. So I say this all the time because I get a lot of texts and calls about people who are looking to rent first, right? Or rent just long term. They don't even want to buy, they just want to rent, right? So out here in Hawaii, we do not have, as far as real estate agents go, I'm a real estate agent, right? As far as real estate agents go, we do not have agreements with the landlords or the property managers or anything like that as far as getting paid to help people find a place to rent. We just don't. So a lot of times, even if you like requested a showing on Zillow or whatever the case may be, whatever site it is that you like, if you were looking to rent and you request a showing to rent and that showing isn't directly with whoever's managing that property, oftentimes it's going to be crickets. I've been told this on calls. They're like, hey, I tried to get a showing to go rent this place, and nobody responded to anything. And I think that was through Zillow. But the point is just real estate agents don't make any money off of that out here, so nobody really puts time into it. The only person benefiting from that is the landlord or the property manager, whether it's the realtor themselves or the company. So just wanted to let you know that. So if you do text me about renting, that's exactly what I'm going to tell you is we can only do so much. And I only look at rentals that are available in the MLS because most of the time, well, actually all the time, they are by a property manager, a licensed real estate agent who have put it in the MLS, and therefore less likely of it being a scam, which we know on Craigslist and Facebook, right? Don't Western Union money to Europe. Don't do any of that crazy stuff. So that's what we're talking about as far as why do people rent and the limitations we have as real estate agents helping tenants find a place to rent. Number 4 on our list is going to be the requirements to rent. This is what you need to know. Now this is ever changing, so there's not one size fits all approach to this. Okay, this is ever changing, and because of what happened in 2020, we had a moratorium out here. Some people were in unfortunate situations where they were not able to pay their rent, and therefore it affected the landlord, right, and things like that. But those are the unfortunate situations, okay? Some people took advantage of a situation and therefore kind of screwed it up for everybody else. I'm not saying anybody directly. I just know that there are situations out there like that. One is really kind of close to my neighborhood that I just knew about. But I'm not putting anybody out there, right? It's just those things happen. And so what happens when these types of things go on? Well, the property managers and the landlords just become more strict with their requirements to letting somebody come and rent their home. All right, they just like, hey, all right, so we need full background check, we need credit score be a certain amount, we want to make sure they're making enough money, certain things, right? Depending on how much. We talked about credit check, income, background check, dogs, cats, these things can be hurdles, right? We'll talk about that later. So when we're talking about the requirements though, sometimes you might even see requirements. It's almost like as if you're buying a house. It's crazy. I've tried to help people, right? Like I talked about in the limited capacity, and I had a property manager straight up tell me, we want them to have a minimum of a 680 credit score. We want them to clear the background check, okay? We don't want anybody to have any sort of criminal background. We also want them to make 3 times the amount of money that the rent is. So when we're talking about the average cost of rent out here, which we're going to get into, right? And let's say that your rent is $2,000. Well, you need to be making $6,000 a month to rent this place out, which to me, like for you, it might sound crazy, right? But in their eyes, when we talked about those other situations that have happened, these are the reasons why, right? These are the reasons why. So it may take them a little longer to find a tenant, but they're okay with that a lot of times because they know that they're going to have a secure tenant that is going to be able to afford, right, the rent. They also are looking at like what kind of jobs do people have because of what happened with 2020 and 2021. So many people lost their jobs that got put in the unfortunate situations, right? And then it's like, how do I pay my bills? And so a lot of times they're even looking at what kind of job you have. Do you have one of those essential jobs, right? So these things really just came in and just it hit a lot of people, and it really hurt a lot of people to be able to find a place to rent. So saying all that though, is it impossible to find a place to rent? No, it's not impossible to find a place to rent, okay? But you just want to make sure that you're in a good position, because basically you're asking a property manager, a landlord, to trust you to be able to pay that bill no matter what, okay? So the requirements have gotten more strict. There's not a one size fits all, but talking to that property manager or that landlord directly and asking what kind of requirements they're looking for can definitely help you in your situation. Hey Ryan, you've talked about why do people rent, you've kind of talked about the requirements, right? We know there's not a one size fits all approach. So number 3 on our list, let's get into some of the cost, is going to be the average cost of rent. We're going to talk about the average cost of rent here, which has gone up, and it's gone up everywhere, right? It's gone up across the board in the United States. So what has happened really with that? Well, when we're talking about prices of homes going up and people are taking on bigger mortgages, right, because of the cost of homes, interest rates were a little bit low, and they're actually still pretty low. It's considering, right, even if they're in the 5s, we got to think like, you know, historically speaking, you know, interest rates aren't in the 8, 9s, and 10s. They're still in the 5s, so they're still pretty good. Some people are like, oh, I wanted that 3. Yeah, everybody does, right? But that's just not what's happening right now. Anyway, way off topic. People are taking on bigger mortgages, right, with these higher home prices, and therefore somebody's got to pay the mortgage, right? And if they're not living in the house paying it themselves, they're trying to rent it out. Obviously, they're going to charge for rent that at least covers the mortgage and all the fees, right? So at minimum, before they even try to get more for cash flow. So you got to think about that in terms of you renting. All right, what is their mortgage is probably a little bit lower depending on how long they've owned the home, these types of things. All right, now I've rambled about why rent may be going up across the board in the United States. Let's look at the average cost to rent. Right here in the MLS, everything in the MLS. So I can't necessarily account for private landlords and those types of things, but everything that is in the MLS. So what you're seeing is the average cost to rent single family homes, condos, everything encompassed under this. You're looking at the average cost to rent over the last 6 months. 6 months in the top right corner, you can see that is $2,548. And over the last 6 months, that is a 13.5% increase. 13.5% increase. That is a lot. So when we're talking about the average cost to rent, you see it right there. This is as of March 2022. right here in the MLS for real estate agents, $2,548. So you just saw it for yourself. I just provided you that data. You're looking at over $2,500 as the average cost to rent. Does that mean every single place costs $2,500 to rent? No. Okay, there's condos in Waikiki that are probably going to be around that $1,500 to $1,800 range. They're going to be your studio condos, right? There's houses around here for $4,500 to rent. So it's really, right, it's all over the place. It fluctuates. So is it going to be $2,500? Depends on what you need, right? Your criteria, your lifestyle, and what it is that you can really do with your capacity, right? So $2,500 is going to be your average cost to rent, which is what we just showed you. Number 2 on our list is going to be the hurdles with finding a place to rent. And what do we mean by hurdles? So look, like I said, I talked to a lot of people who are making the move out here and they do want to rent first, all right? And I talked to a lot of people who do move out here and they just go ahead and buy, right? They're not trying to pay somebody else's mortgage, and I ain't either, right? But I understand not everybody's in the right position at the right time. A lot of that is really just about timing. Anyway, what are some of the hurdles that you may run into if you're looking to move out here and find a place? Well, let's go ahead and start with, well, if you're not here yet, that's going to be your first hurdle right there, if you're not here yet. So a lot of times when you're looking for a place to rent, you're trying to avoid scams, right? You're trying to avoid scams, and a lot of times you'll see like these weird emails, or they're going to want you to send money somewhere weird through, you know, Western Union or some cashier's check, something crazy, right? Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. But at the same instance, I bring that up because on the opposite side of the things, when you've got property managers and landlords, they're thinking the same thing. People who are legit are like, is this person that is calling me to rent my property, are they legit, right? How legit are they, or are they trying to scam me for something, right? Are they trying to scam me or in this property for whatever it might be? So on the other side of the spectrum too, they're trying to avoid scams as well. So you not being here can really present a hurdle, right? And again, talking directly with people who I know who manage properties and stuff like that, they would rather you be here. So what happens in this case? Well, a lot of times, a lot of people will come out here and they'll stay in an Airbnb or something for 30 days, right? They'll try to find a 30-day rental. They'll stay there for 30 days, and then that's when they get out here and they hit the ground running. And now they are actually here in person, right? Being able to present themselves to the property manager or landlord whenever they're doing, like, you know, open house showings or talking and calling them directly and going to meet them at the property. This makes the landlords and the property managers a lot more comfortable now that they've seen you. They get to meet you. They get to see like what kind of person are you, and really get a feel for you, right? Because when it comes to living in somebody else's property, this is almost like, you know, somebody driving your car, right? Like, I paid a lot of money for this car. I don't know if I trust you, right? Are you a crazy driver? Do you think you're, you know, in NASCAR? Or are you driving, you know, 5 miles under the speed limit and stopping for 5 seconds at every stop sign? Like, I need to know what kind of person you are driving my car, right? In the same instance, you're going to rent somebody else's house. They want to see you. They want to get a feel for you. They want to get a feel for your personality, and these types of things. So it really has become a very kind of intimate thing, not just necessarily, hey, I'm going to rent your property. Okay, here you go, right? Those types of things. So not being here can really present a hurdle. One of the other reasons it can present a hurdle is because on the move out. So if you're not here and you do rent sight unseen, which people I've seen do, but on the move out, if for some reason like something happened to the walls or whatever the case may be, and you're like, well, that wasn't here when we got here. We rented before, you know, we had everything signed before we got here, and then that was here. We didn't do that. And then you've got this dispute and this legal thing that could be happening and all this other stuff because they want to hold your deposit for this damages, and you're like, I didn't do this. So all of those things can really be another issue that may come up, right? Could come up in those types of scenarios. Okay. What's another hurdle? Pets. Pets is a huge hurdle. I don't know why it's like that out here, but pets is a super big issue. Okay. Big dogs. I got big dogs. Okay. My dogs are 75 and 100 pounds. Okay. I got big dogs. And when it comes to finding a place to rent, you're going to be hard pressed if you've got big dogs. And then sometimes breed even matters. To me, I don't agree with that at all. But sometimes breed even matters. So a lot of times people don't, if you're trying to find a condo in town and you have a big dog, good luck. You're going to have, that's a huge hurdle. Okay. Even finding a house or a townhome that is going to allow you to rent with your dogs, it's a big hurdle. You could be looking online at 300 homes for rent that meet all your criteria, and then you check that like okay for pets box, or, you know, dogs okay box. that 300 homes could just dissipate, like go down to, I don't even know what word I was just trying to say, leave that, it is whatever. Those 300 homes could go down to like 5, and then you're like, oh my god, what just happened to my entire search? Like, what in the world? And then you're stuck with those 5, and you're like, they're not in, you know, necessarily the area or things like that. So having pets can be a huge hurdle. Cats as well. Some people just don't want cats. I'm not really a cat person. I understand why. They like the litter box, the scratching, all that stuff, right? Some people don't want cats. So usually, I will say, if you have a smaller dog, if you have, you know, one of them 20-pound, you know, little dogs that you know, cuddle up, then you might have an easier time, but still, it presents a big hurdle when it comes to renting. So those are a couple of the hurdles that you may encounter when it comes to renting for your move to Hawaii. Last but not least on our list is going to be number 1, which is how much does it really cost you to rent long term? So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually provide you some numbers, some figures here so that you can really see how this starts to add up. And you're literally putting this money into somebody else's pockets. All right. To me, this is like insane. I understand everybody's situation is different. Not everybody is in a position to buy at this time. But if you never set that goal and you never actually talk to professionals such as myself or members of my team or lenders, then you'll never really understand how to get on the path to home ownership. So you stop putting your money into somebody else's pocket. So let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and get started with this example that we're going to talk about right now. Let's say that you have found a place to rent for $2,500, right? Based off of the average cost to rent, which we just looked at in the MLS, which is up over 13.5%. We're going to say that you found a place to rent for $2,500. So kicking things off, we're going to start off with $2,500. Now, typically speaking, you're going to have to pay your security deposit. So now it's going to be security deposit plus your first month's rent, which now we're starting to add up, right? And let's say that you got in the door with the pet. So we've got $2,500, we've got $2,500, and you have a dog, and that's going to cost you another $500 pet deposit, right? They're going to make you, these fluctuate and change, but let's say for this example, it's a $500 pet deposit. I actually did have to pay that before when I was renting, okay? So $500 pet deposit. Now you are all in just to get in the door of this property at $5,500. $5,500 for you just to get in the door. For a lot of these homes, that is a good chunk of your closing cost right there. So for a lot of these homes, $5,500 is a good chunk of your closing cost. Just putting that out there. So let's say that you did sign a long-term lease, and let's look at 6 months. Okay, so over 6 months, you've paid your first your security deposit along with your first month's rent. Now, over 6 months time frame, $2,500 times 6 months, you're looking at $15,000. All right, $15,000 in 6 months that you have then paid to someone else. That $15,000, we're not even including the security deposit that they're just holding, right? So this is just the rent over there. Now, obviously, let's go ahead and double that. So you signed a year-long lease, okay, 12 months. 12 months in this property at $2,500. You have now paid $30,000 into somebody else's mortgage. $30,000. Yes, you are paying to live here. You're trying to get yourself in that position so that you can then buy, and then maybe somebody will pay your mortgage. But you have then paid $30,000 into somebody else's mortgage at $2,500 a month over 1 year. That is a lot of money that, again, you just put in somebody else's pocket. So let's keep going and let's look at 2 years, right? Obviously, we're just going to double it. So from 1 year, when you paid $30,000 in 1 year, and we're talking about 2 years, if you rent for 2 years at $2,500 a month, you have now put $60,000 into somebody else's mortgage. 60 grand into somebody else's mortgage. If their mortgage is paid off, they're doing all right, right? And they're doing all right out of your hard work. Okay, your hard work. We go to the 3-year mark, right? And you've rented for 3 years at $2,500, and you're, you know, hopefully rent didn't go up in that time frame. But at $2,500 for 3 years, you're looking at 90 grand. Okay, 90 grand into somebody else's pocket. So in this case, like I was saying, we just wanted to provide you with an example so that you can really see the figures of what it looks like to rent long term, and especially when the average cost to rent in Hawaii is continuously going up, right? put yourself in a position, give us a call, let us, talk to us, and we can see if we can get you on the right path and get that goal set, and here's what you need to do, right? Especially with my lender partner, we're really good about identifying what it is that you do and how we can get you into the position so that you can be able to become a homeowner. Right there, we have covered 5 things that you need to know about renting when living in Hawaii. Again, guys, look, you can schedule a call and we can talk to us. Now, again, like I mentioned, we cannot do anything when it comes to rentals. We do help people buy homes all the time, buy and sell homes. When it comes to rentals, we can really just help get you on the path to getting yourself into position to be able to buy a home. All right, whether you're local or moving here, we do not, we help anybody. We help anybody is what I'm trying to say. So, like I said, we can get on a call, you can shoot us a text, you can send us an email, you can skip all that, and you can use the Zoom link down in the description below. However you want to get a hold of us, we got your back when it comes to moving to Hawaii, buying a house in Hawaii, whatever it is that you need, right? We're here to educate, we're here to help, we're here to support. If you've made it this far and you haven't already hit the like button, please do so. It helps anybody else be able to find this information. Hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so that you get notified anytime that I put a new video out on this channel. And I've got tons of vlog tours if you're trying to get an inside look at some of these communities. I'm walking in front of these houses, I'm walking through the communities, taking you around. All that's going to start popping up for you right now.